She was my best friend, one of those people you meet in life and immediately feel were put there for a reason. We laughed at the same silly things, shared deep secrets, and understood each other with just a glance. She knew everything about me, my pain, my traumas, my insecurities, and most importantly, she knew all the details about my relationship with Daniel. When I said he was distant, she was the one who hugged me. When I fought with him, she was the one who said, "Girl, you're too good for him. You deserve so much better." And I believed her, because when those words come from someone who loves you, they carry weight, they heal, or they should heal. But over time, something started to bother me. A small, almost imperceptible feeling. A phrase she repeated too often, a glance that was too quick, a presence that was too constant, and what seemed like friendship hid one of the deepest betrayals I have ever experienced. The first time I suspected something, it wasn't jealousy, it was instinct. At the time, I trusted them with all my heart. She was my best friend since college, the kind who defends you in public and confronts you in private. And he was the guy I fell in love with when I thought love was no longer for me. Daniel charmed me with simple kindnesses, remembering my coffee, listening to me without rushing, hugging me when the world seemed too hard. And the two of them together? They seemed to get along too well. At first, it made me happy. I thought it was beautiful to see how two people I loved also liked each other. But over time, the encounters started to seem planned. She would show up at my house even when I didn't call her. She would say she was passing by, that she missed me, or that she bought something and wanted to show me. And Daniel, he never complained. On the contrary, he poured wine, played music, laughed at her jokes, and there I was, in the middle, feeling like a guest in my own home. The last straw came in a conversation that still echoes in my mind today. The three of us, me, her, and Daniel, had gone out to dinner. During the conversation, she said that sentence with an almost pitying smile on her lips. "You're too good for him, you know?" "What do you mean?" I asked, not understanding. "Oh, it's just that sometimes it seems like you give so much of yourself, and he doesn't match you. You have a light, my friend. Don't let anyone dim it." At the time, I was touched, but today I realize it wasn't concern. It was guilt disguised as affection. The phrase was repeated often. Whenever I mentioned that Daniel was distant, or when he forgot an important date, she said I should think about someone better, that maybe I was settling. "You deserve more. You're too good for him. Don't settle for less." And what seemed like encouragement was a silent preparation to make me doubt myself and him, so that I would take the first step away, so that I would be the one to open up the space between us. I started to notice that they exchanged quick glances when they thought I wasn't looking. She laughed at jokes that only he understood, and he started coming home later and later from work, always with excuses that didn't make sense. A meeting, traffic that only he got stuck in, a last-minute phone call. One day, after one of those nights when he came home after midnight, I went to fold his clothes and found a receipt from a bar, a bill for 2 people. At the same time, he said he was finishing things up at the office. It wasn't our place, and what caught my attention was the waiter's name written by hand, as if he had served special customers. I was tempted to call the number on the paper, but I stopped myself. I didn't want to be the paranoid woman, the controlling one, the suspicious one. I told her about it a few days later, in a casual conversation. "Girl, sometimes I think I'm going crazy. He seems distant, I don't know." She just replied with a little smile. "Maybe he's been distant for a while. You're just starting to notice now." I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I started testing him. Small things, saying I wouldn't be home when I actually would be, canceling dates and seeing if we would act normally. And little by little, I noticed a subtle dance between them, as if there was a secret choreography going on, and I was the only one who didn't know the steps. One day, I came home and heard the balcony door slam. It was windy, but what caught my attention was that Daniel and her were in the living room, in silence. When I opened the door, they stood up together, too quickly. She said she was leaving, but avoided looking me in the eye. That night, I asked him, "Do you still love me?" He hesitated, and when he answered, he said, "Of course, honey." What kind of question is that? But that's not what he said. It was like he was trying to convince me, not me, but himself. I started observing everything, her clothes, his cologne, the times they crossed paths, the calls that went to voicemail, the text messages that were too short, And then I found the first concrete proof. I was looking for an old photo on my computer, one she had asked me for months ago, when I accidentally opened a folder with backups from Daniel's old cell phone. There were photos, lots of them, and among them, one that paralyzed me. Her, in the bathroom mirror at my house, wearing Daniel's shirt. At the time, I had left to visit my mother on a weekend when she insisted that I stay and take care of the house for me. I felt my stomach turn. But even with that before my eyes, I wanted to believe there was an explanation. The shirt could have been borrowed, it could have been a coincidence, it could have been anything, except what it seemed to be. Until another photo appeared. She was lying on our bed, with her face turned to the side, and Daniel, in the mirror, getting out of the shower. There was no doubt anymore, only pain, raw, cold, indefensible. I closed everything. I cried in the bathroom. I trembled for hours. The next day, I faced them both. I pretended I didn't know. I watched their reactions, their behavior, and every gesture confirmed that I was right. What hurt me the most wasn't just the act itself, it was the fact that she knew all my pain, that she had heard me vent about him while she was sleeping with him, that she had taken me in on the nights he didn't come home, because she knew exactly where he was. With her, it was too cruel, too cold, too unfair, but I still didn't know the worst part. What happened next showed me that, beyond the betrayal, there was something even more perverse behind it all. I had proof, I had photos, I had the pain, and yet I waited. You're never ready to destroy the world you spent years building, even when that world is already crushing you, even when the person who said they were your best friend is cheating on you with the man who swears he loves you every night. Still, your heart insists on believing that everything can be different. In the days that followed, I walked like a ghost inside my own home. I observed every detail as if I were saying goodbye to a place that no longer belonged to me. And little by little, I started to piece everything together. Conversations, printouts, receipts, dates. Not because I wanted to confront them yet, but because I needed to look at the facts when my mind wanted to sabotage me. When I thought, what if it's all in my head? It wasn't. It never was. Until the day came. I didn't plan it. I didn't rehearse it. But the universe seems to have a perfect sense of irony. It was my birthday, a Saturday. I made a point of not planning anything. I was feeling down, out of sorts, unmotivated. Daniel said he wanted to do something, just the two of us, and I agreed, even though I knew it would be an act. But in the afternoon, she showed up, with a cake, balloons, and that same old smile. I couldn't not see you today, could I? She hugged me like she was my sister, as if she wasn't destroying my life behind that smile. Inside, I almost threw up. We pretended everything was normal. She cut the cake. Daniel opened a bottle of wine. We laughed at jokes that weren't funny. And the whole time, I knew. It was the last time the three of us would be in the same room. The last time I would pretend that everything was fine. I waited until nightfall. I let her leave. I kissed Daniel on the cheek like someone kisses a traitor, and I went to the bedroom. There I sat down in front of him, with my laptop open, the photos on the screen, and I said calmly, I just want you to look, that's all. He took a while to react. He looked, he took his time, and then he took a deep breath. Honey, let me explain. But I raised my hand. I don't want explanations. It was a mistake. I don't want excuses. You don't understand, and I don't want to understand. He started to cry, for real, maybe out of guilt, maybe out of fear of losing me. Or maybe because he knew that now there was no way to deny it. He tried to argue, but it all seemed rehearsed. Empty words, memorized phrases, the same old script of someone who cheats and then regrets it just because they got caught. That's when I let out the question that was stuck in my throat. Was it just once? Silence. It was a few times, he admitted. How many? More silence. I don't know. It just happened. For how long? He lowered his head. Almost a year. 1 year. While I was sharing my life with both of them. While I was crying on her shoulder because of him. While she was telling me he didn't deserve me. I was paralyzed, but the worst was yet to come. Did she come to you first? He hesitated. Then he replied, No. Actually, the first time was when you went to see your mom. Remember? She stayed here and we talked a lot. Uh-huh. I remember. My heart was already in pieces, but still I kept digging my own grave. Did she ever say she was going to break up with me? He looked at me confused. What do you mean? Did she promise you something? Did she say she was going to tell me? He paused, but then he replied, yes, she sometimes said that you didn't deserve to be deceived, that we had to tell you, but then she would cry and say she didn't want to lose you, so that was it. She knew. Not only did she know, she planned it. She planned every word, every hug, every piece of advice, everything. She was the one who offered to stay at my house. She was the one who encouraged our fights. She was the one who said I was too good, not as a compliment but as preparation, as if to say, if he cheats on you, don't be surprised. You already knew you deserved better. And Daniel? He was weak, a coward, unable to say no to temptation. The next day I went to her house. She opened the door, smiling. Girl, what happened? You disappeared last night. I showed her my phone, the photo of her in my bed, the printout of an old message. I wanted her to know, but not now. She turned pale. You don't understand. Yes, I do. You chose to destroy me in silence, calmly, day after day. I never wanted to hurt you. No? You were there. You heard me cry for him, and then you slept with him. What do you call that? She started crying, and for a moment, I almost fell into the old cycle. I almost hugged her. I almost forgave her. But I turned around and walked away. I didn't look back, not because I didn't want to, but because I knew that if I did, I might weaken. The pain was physical, as if a piece of me had been torn away. But there, at that end, a new woman was born. A woman who, in the days to come, would learn the real meaning of the word rebuilding. In the days that followed, the pain was constant. Waking up was like having my heart ripped out of my chest every day. Sleeping, almost impossible. The betrayal of two people I trusted most was like a silent fire. It burned everything inside without leaving anything visible on the outside. But that's where the perversity of emotional pain lies. No one sees it. No one understands. And when you try to explain, it sounds exaggerated. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I deactivated my social media accounts. I even distanced myself from my family. Because how do you tell your mother that the daughter she raised to trust people was made a fool by two of them at the same time? But there was a voice inside me, small, weak, almost silent, that said, you'll get through this. At first, I ignored it, but it was still there. And one day, I decided to listen to it. I started writing, letters I would never deliver, one for her, another for him, and a third for myself. In them, I poured out every hurt, every unanswered question, every insult I swallowed in the name of peace. I reread these letters every night before bed, and then I burned one every week. It was a silly ritual, but liberating. It was as if I was taking the emotional trash out of myself. I also went back to therapy. At first, I could barely speak without crying, but over time, I learned to differentiate between guilt and responsibility. I understood that trusting the wrong people doesn't make me naive. It makes me human, and that those who betray choose to betray. Nothing justifies it. Nothing softens it. Nothing cleanses. I started going out more. I reconnected with old friends, the ones who always thought I was too good, not for Daniel, but to accept emotional crumbs. And for the first time in a long time, I started to laugh for real. Laugh with my stomach, with my eyes, with my soul. I decided to move to a new city. A new atmosphere, everything. I rented a small apartment, but it was mine. I got rid of everything that reminded me of them. Photos, objects, gifts, they're all gone. Little by little, I rebuilt my identity, who I was, without their shadow. And on that journey, I began to understand something that changed the way I see the world. Sometimes, the universe violently rips people out of your life because you refuse to let them go gently. I needed them out of my life, but I couldn't leave. So life went there and took them away from me. Painfully, yes, but also with purpose. Today, I look back and no longer feel anger. I feel gratitude. Did their betrayal break me? Yes, but it also forced me to rebuild myself. And the most incredible thing is that, in rebuilding myself, I realized that what I feared most, being alone, was actually my greatest freedom. Being alone gave me time. It gave me peace. It gave me clarity. And when I finally felt whole again, I met someone. Not out of need, not out of fear of being alone, but because this time, I was ready. Someone who doesn't play with words, who doesn't need to hide their phone, who doesn't have a best friend I need to worry about. Someone who looks at me with truth, who loves me with their presence, and who understands that true love isn't spoken, it's shown. And about her, well, I heard she tried to keep in touch with him for a while, but soon he cheated on her too. And deep down, that doesn't surprise me. Anyone who builds a relationship on lies ends up living in a sandcastle. She sent me a message a while later. She asked for forgiveness. She said she didn't know what she was doing. I read it, and I didn't reply. Because forgiveness isn't about saying it's okay. It's about no longer carrying the weight of another person. And I finally let hers fall to the ground.